Hi, I'm Gemma.
And I'm Claire.
And in this week's episode of Honest to God podcast, we're going to be talking all things stress, chronic fatigue syndrome, and ME with the amazing, inspirational, and wonderful Ellen Murray. You are going to absolutely love this episode.
You are, really.
Ellen Murray, welcome to Honest to God.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're a bit nervous. I can't believe you've never done a podcast before.
I know, you wouldn't think I'd be so nervous.
Because you've done loads of public speaking. You've hosted your own workshops. You've stood in front of hundreds of women who are getting sweaty and jumping around and made them do burpees for years. But you're feeling a little bit...
I am. I'm feeling the older heart rate going a bit faster. Is it sweating a bit?
Is it because there's a microphone in
Maybe
front of you and a
is,
camera?
and I know it's being recorded.
Yeah.
I'll be fine though.
You're not coming across as nervous.
I'm not.
Even though inside it might be. Because I was the same.
Got my show face on.
Do you know what? I'll tell you what. Claire is a meditation maestro. Can you do us a quick, few seconds of... How would you help somebody who's nervous? Because I think that's a good hint and tip for anybody listening, actually.
There you go. Yeah, okay. So for nerves, calming nerves down, it's all about the breath. Because when we notice our breath, and we can then start to put the body back into balance. So should we just do some breath work?
Yeah, just do it. Just a couple of seconds or something, for all of us.
So just close your eyes.
Okay.
Gently close your eyes or just lower the gaze. And then I want you to inhale and imagine the breath coming in through the tip of the nose. And then exhale out the nose. And then I want you to inhale through the nose again, but as you inhale, allow the belly to bloat out like a balloon. So filling the belly up. And then as you exhale, let the belly come back down, back in towards the spine. Inhale again. Belly rises. And then as you exhale, bringing the belly back in towards the spine. And just do a few more of these on your own. This is just known as abdominal breathing, so it just allows us to come back into balance, back into rest and digest. And then there we go. Open our eyes gently, and then we're ready to go.
That's nice.
That was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I need your meditations in my life. That's lovely. It's all about finding the right voice for it, isn't it? You've got such a great meditation voice.
Thank you.
That's what she does. She's
love
magic.
it.
She's genius.
Amazing.
So I'm glad that's helped. I'm glad that's been nice and calm. I hope if you're listening to this, you weren't doing that while you were driving or operating heavy machinery or in charge of small people.
Thanks for that,
yeah. Or maybe skiving at your desk at work. Your boss has come behind you what are you doing? Just heavy breathing at my desk. So Ellen, let's how would you explain who you are in a nutshell to somebody who doesn't know you? How would you describe yourself?
Ooh. It's a tough one because I've had a big shift of identity in the last year.
Well, I'll tell you what then, why don't we take it back then? Because you're let's talk about your business if that's all right.
Yeah.
So Ketone Fitness was born because you were a dancer to start off with, weren't you?
Yeah.
So take us back to your dancing days.
Oh, wow, we are coming back now. So dancing for me was always my passion, but it was always it's not the safe route kind of thing. So I went to do psychology at uni, then ended up going away dancing in hotels, just living the life in Cyprus, in Greece. Come back and got a job as a dance teacher. And it just went from there really. Then I started teaching women fitness, and that was found my calling now.
How did you get into that from teaching dance to then fitness? Did it feel like a natural progression?
Well, I was in this dance role and I was like, I need to know I'm going to progress because I've always been a striver and achiever, and it was just kind of not really going anywhere. So I went back to uni to train in dance. Always passion always wins, doesn't it? You always end up going back to that. And as I was training, I was doing fitness as well on the side, just a few dance fitness classes. But when it got to the summer, I was like, I can't just do fitness in the evenings. I need to fill my day. which we'll probably get to later, how that is not sensible. But from morning to evening, I was used to being on the go. So I started a boot camp. So it wasn't just fitness, it was the whole behind the scenes, supporting the women with the mindset, the nutrition, getting results. And it just went mental. Like the first month I had like 15 women. Great. The next month I had 40. And then the next month it was like, right, I'm going back to uni now. And I was like, I don't want to give this up. Like, I'm loving it. The women are getting...
I didn't realise that. So you did this in the summer
of
uni.
Degree, yeah.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
So like, and was the motivation to do it, was it monetary, financial, or was it just,
no.
I want to be busy?
It was purely just to fill me time. Because I was like, I was used to being like, from the moment I opened my eyes, I was training at uni, dancing all day and then teaching in the evenings. And I was like, well, I'm not at uni. I can't just work like 3 hours a day. Like, so it was, I was just like, I want to expand a little bit and fill me time.
And you went back to uni in the September?
I made the decision at that point. I was like, am I going to go for it and become a teacher in a school, or am I going to have my own business? And I found a mentor as well who kept like popping into my email and he was like, you know, talking to me like, and it was like, actually I do want to pursue my own business. So made the brave decision to like drop out and go for it.
And how long had you done at uni by that point?
I just had my 3rd year to go.
Oh wow. So you didn't have...
But I had already done a degree. This was like...
This isn't your psychology degree.
No.
This is your dance degree.
Yeah.
Right, I get you. So, yeah, amazing. And when was that? How long ago?
That was like 2012.
Okay.
So I went all in then. And within like the 3rd month, there was like 80 women. They were all on like monthly memberships. So I was from the start, I got this business mentor, Paul Mort. Do you know him?
I love Paul Mort.
I adore him. He was my first ever mentor.
I didn't realise Paul Mort was your mentor. I adore
He's
Paul
so
Mort.
funny, isn't he?
I love Paul Mort's
yeah,
emails.
funny.
He's just got a book deal with Harper North.
Has he?
Yes, he has.
He's
He is
doing really
brilliant.
well, isn't
Anybody
he?
listening and wondering who the heck he is a
He's on
straight
Instagram, isn't he? I see him
talking
on
Geordie. Follow him on social media because he's just a brilliant, brilliant person to be inspired by.
And he really just says it like it is.
Oh, he does.
That's what drew me to him.
Yeah.
I love, because I'm quite...
I thought he just coached men.
No,
That's
well,
good then,
I think he
isn't it?
might do now, but back in the day...
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he also was the mentor for James Smith. So Paul Mort is famous for the daily emails. So James Smith, who obviously is, is got book deals, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Paul Mort and James Smith were on a podcast talking about.
Yeah, I've seen them on a podcast. I thought it was
daily
more so
emails.
the other way round.
No. So Paul Mort was very, very good at mentoring people in the health and wellness sector. Definitely was well known for that.
To be honest, like saying this out loud, he's probably like the reason my business did so well initially, because from the get-go I was like, had a business head through learning from him.
It's not like you're expecting women, because when you say you had these boot camps, you were running these in spaces like church halls, schools,
mainly like outdoors.
And
Go on.
I was going to say, instead of that business model of, a woman comes and pays £4 a class, as pay as you go, well, you can never predict your cash flow because you don't know who's going to turn up. But lots of people do run fitness kind of classes and things like that. So but having them on a monthly membership from day one.
I mean, from day one, I was like, most people, like you say, like £5 a class back then, and I was like £99 a month. So I set my prices like pretty high straight away.
Yeah. And you got that investment there, though, haven't you?
It wasn't for the money. It was like you say,
it's for them to invest in it then and go, I've paid this now, so I need to turn up. But I'm just sitting here thinking, if you've got 80 women on a membership, what the fuck does your month look like? Because how do you do that? How many classes? What were you doing?
Well, because that was very early on. That was month 3. Like, that was the September I decided to not go back to uni. So we had these 80 women on monthly memberships. I was still teaching all my dance fitness alongside. So I'd do like 6 o'clock boot camp, run and teach Zumba, 8 o'clock boot camp. I was like, but I was just so high energy and high pace, and I loved it. I loved the women and, that community, and they were all invested, you know. But quite early on, I was like, I'm going to need a bit of help here. And that's when I got a team member. She came on the following March.
Great. Okay.
And she took a bit of it on. but then we expanded to another location and then another and another over the years.
And where did it
Go on.
get to? Like, so this is back in 2012, which is 9 years ago at this point. And it's, you know, the kind of top of its game, where how many people, how many staff?
I think when we were at probably the top of our game was, well, it's been the last few years until the lockdown. We were at like, I think 400 members at one point. You know, we were nearly hitting like, I think the revenue was like nearly £400,000 or something. So it was quite big for just little old me. Staff, we had like probably 12 on the team. So it was, you know, I look back now and I'm like, wow, I did that. Like when I was in it, I didn't ever think it, but I've done a lot of growth, had a lot of growth since then emotionally. But at the time, I was just like, oh, this is just, I never fully appreciated like what an achievement that was.
Because you were too busy doing.
I was too busy in
and
it.
too busy to stop
Busy
and look
in it.
and reflect.
But you did have some moments where you weren't in it. And one of those moments was when you got pregnant with your first child, your little boy, your son.
Yes.
Max.
Yeah.
What year was he born again?
2017.
Were you still jumping around doing burpees with a bump?
Do you know what? I created GlowFit as well at the time.
So
which
tell
went
everybody about
mental.
GlowFit.
So GlowFit was this. You've probably heard of them loads now, the glow sticks. But this was like, I think that was just around the same time as I created GlowFit. So the first class of that, I turned up at this village hall where we're doing my Zumba. Like 100 people turned up, and my husband was like, Ellen, what are we going to do? Like, they were like sardines. So then,
like a rave though, isn't it? That's exactly like what it was.
well, then we started at Walton Sports Centre, and 200 people came to the first class. So it was just,
And it's
was
like
just
UV
crazy.
lights, strobe lights, glow sticks, like neon gear.
but
What,
it
rave
just-
night and a school night?
Yeah, that was the tagline. Remember it?
I do remember it.
And it's just all early 90s classics, like dead high energy. And yeah, people just loved it. So I was doing that alongside, and then I got pregnant and took a real step back from everything because I was just so ill. I had hyperemesis.
Which is, can you explain what it is for people who might
Basically,
not know?
I'm like a princess. Princess Kate had it with all her children, where you just literally vomiting all the time or nauseous all the time.
And at what point did that start in your pregnancy?
About 6 weeks in.
And was it for the
my
duration?
Yeah, literally until
my
I think
God.
the morning I had him, I was still vomiting. Like,
So how's that? How do you get through that? Like food wise, energy wise, you're a fitness instructor. You need your food and you're throwing it all up because
I had to step back from all the physical. I mean, I was really lucky that I'd created a team that it did work without me. So the boot camps were all running, the women were all looked after. And in my head, I had that, like, Paul's voice as well. It's like you have to build it so that it works without you. And I always knew I wanted children, so it was only the GlowFit I needed to step back from. So I spent most of my pregnancy, like, on my back, like, feeling so ill. And I was on medication to stop me vomiting so much.
Yeah.
So it was just eating carbs all the time to keep anything down.
looking back, like, would you was pregnancy with Max difficult then? Would you say it wasn't a pleasant experience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times where I got used to it and I enjoyed parts of it, and I did do a bit of physical stuff, but I was always thinking, I can't wait till the baby's here and I can get my life back on track. To be honest, I probably had a bit of prenatal depression.
Yeah. But looking back, you're able to. And what makes you think that, looking back?
I think because I just recognise it now. I know what it is, and going through what I've been through recently, I know what it feels like and what the signs are, and like literally once he was born, I was like, oh, I feel like me again, you know.
And then how did you make it work once he was born, business-wise?
I think at that point I felt very detached from it, and I felt very guilty because I finished on the Friday evening and I was thinking I'll have like 4 weeks to hand over because it was literally like my baby, the business.
Yeah, it's
And
your
then
first baby, really,
It
isn't
was,
it?
yeah. And then he came the next morning. Literally,
Was he early?
He was 4 weeks early.
Little monkey.
I know. I had been burping and boxing that week, which was silly. So I probably did do a little bit too much, push myself a little bit. But so I didn't have any handover time. So I felt like when he first arrived, I was like trying to be in the office, like doing spreadsheets when I should have been just enjoying time as a mum.
Are you somebody who likes to feel organised and in control?
Yeah, very much
Yeah.
so.
So was that, because we talk about this, what did you call yourself the other day? A recovering control freak? Yeah. And I can imagine that, especially when you're pregnant with your first, you don't know what to expect. You've got this plan in your head of how it's going to be.
You can laugh now, can't
Anybody
you?
listening who may be pregnant, take that plan, tear it up, put some petrol on it, set it on fire, and throw it in the fucking sea. Because it's not going to go anywhere you think it's going to go, is it?
No.
Not one bit at all. So you've got this plan. Yeah, I've got 4 weeks of maternity before he comes. I'm going to scrub the house, nest.
Batch cook all my meals.
Yeah, I'm going to get my admin for work sorted, sort my files and my folders out. And that didn't happen, no?
No. Literally the morning after, he was like, I'm here. But it forced me to hand over. But it was a shock to the system. And I had that time and space to like sit back, but I never gave it to myself. I still was trying to be in control. So I spent that first year feeling torn, guilty. I mean, I'm sure it's common even with people who don't have their own business. You're adjusting to a new life, aren't you, as a mum?
Yeah, it's just a massive change. It's an identity shift because it's another thing that you are. You're not just you, are you? You're a mum, you're a business owner, you're a daughter.
I think
I remember when Josh was born and I was in the women's and I was in a room on my own and I didn't know he needed wind and he was terrible for crying and I was just like, what you do? And I was on my own, so I pulled the cord for the nurse to come and she was like, come here, just got him, just turned him over and was slapping him on the back and I was like, oh, he's so delicate. Then she passed him back and he was all wrapped up lovely and I just looked into his eyes and I always remember now just the connection and the love and then the horror of, oh my God, I love you that much and I've got to look after you for the rest of my life. What the fuck is this all about? And I can still see his big blue eyes looking at me and it's like, you shit yourself. Because it's like, fucking hell, I didn't even really think about this one.
Yeah.
And I still tell him to this day he's 13 now and I still go, oh, look at the picture and look at you now and I still love you. And he goes, I know, Mum. And he taps me on the head now. But it's such it's gorgeous. It's such a beautiful thing, but it's also your life is never the same.
I think for me, it was the thing I wasn't expecting, and I'm sure you'll both identify with this. I didn't understand the mental load that would be put upon me for fucking ever. Because I heard it described recently as, you know, when you watch the news, like the BBC, like when and the ticker tape runs at the bottom, doesn't it? Of all the things, right? I don't know about you, I've got 20 different ticker tapes and they're all going at different speeds and I'm trying to read one and then the next one's coming along and it's super, super hard. And I'm trying I'm in a process at the moment of trying to offload some of these ticker tapes. Like my husband's now got the cooking one. Yes. You know? And but it's the mental load that I wasn't prepared for, that is relentless and unending, and you never get a break from it because we have to keep these little people alive, and that is a massive responsibility. Because I don't know about you, I still feel like I'm 11 years old in my head. I cannot believe I'm responsible for another human life.
I know. I agree. Yeah,
it's hard. So you've done that. Not only have you had your little boy, you've got the mental load of a team, a business.
Yeah.
So. But then you brought your husband into your business as well. Tell us a bit about that.
So that was probably 2 years into the business. He left his job that he'd been in for years, started another and just wasn't feeling it. And at the same time, he was working for me on the side, but for free. Just because he loved me.
Yeah.
And in the end, I just said, like, you know, let's just go for it. Like, let's make it work. There were a lot of rows, especially when I was pregnant. I remember the hormones just completely losing my shit with him because like, he wasn't doing it the way I wanted. But it worked really well in the long term. So he was, from 2 years in, he was part of it.
Yeah. And you work well together?
Yeah, it took a lot of time. It took having separate workspaces.
That's amazing. That
Yeah.
if a couple can actually build and work in a business together, that is true partnership. Yeah.
And again, I probably didn't recognise that. Like, you saying that out loud makes me go, actually, yeah,
That's
it was.
Because he's
not
he's
a lot
a-
of couples
He's a
would
top
survive
bloke as
that.
well.
Is he?
Yeah, he's just
What's his name?
Jamie.
He's older than me as well, so I think that helps. Not that they ever get that mature, but I think his level of
Bit of a
maturity.
calming
Yeah.
effect.
And he's very chilled compared to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But he's just lovely,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's dead
Yeah.
nice. Got a great sense of humour,
Yeah.
and he adores her. You see the way he looks at her, he absolutely adores her. It's gorgeous.
Aw, I'm blushing.
So, I want you to take us now to March 2020.
Yeah, so obviously
March
shit
When,
hits the fan.
right, at what
2020.
point did you start thinking, oh shit, this is actually a thing?
Well, to be honest, in the meantime, from that, like, I'd had another baby, hadn't I? I'd had Grace, and one of my members of staff left soon after after Grace was born. Happened both times, both children. So I stepped back fully into the business as an instructor. So when 2020 came, I was fully in my business, like instructing,
Everything behind the scenes.
everything behind the scenes. Max was one. Grace was one. Max was just turned 3. So very young, and I was like working ridiculous hours, and then this hit, and I was like, oh, like, as we all were. And yeah, I was just like, we've got to get it online, which I think every fitness business did, didn't they? But in my head, I was like, I want everyone to keep the job. I was so set on looking after everybody else.
Yeah.
But still obviously thinking of my own family. But yeah, I had everybody else in mind, like my team.
How did you feel when all of a sudden the venues are closed, fitness is not allowed to happen in the way that it was? How did you feel?
I think I just felt like panicky, but I was in such like doing mode. Like, I think my reaction to anything is like, right, what can we do about it, and get a plan. I love a plan. So I was just working. I was like on high alert all the time. My adrenaline was just pumping. I think that first week I was like, I just didn't move from my desk. I didn't sleep much. I had the kids at home. I was just in like...
You were trying to make Zoom
Fight or
work,
flight,
borrowing
yeah.
microphones off me, if you remember. Gemma, how can we make this work? Trying to sort out Zoom audio.
Yes.
And yeah, I remember as well you doing, because I joined your online classes, and you even did Glow Fit in your front room with UV lights. Didn't you have to give your neighbour a free membership because of the music?
That is brilliant.
So
How fast did you get online?
I think it was probably the week before we got into lockdown, or maybe 2 weeks before, because I knew it was coming. So at one point I was doing plan A in person, plan B was in person and online for people who didn't feel comfortable at class, plan C was just online. So it was like, because it was all very uncertain, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were told we were expecting to be in
like
lockdown for 3
laughing at it a little
weeks,
bit,
you know,
yeah.
and you were thinking that as well, weren't you? So when that didn't happen, and all of a sudden these online classes are going on for days, weeks, and months, what was that like?
Do you know what? It's a bit of a blur for me now, because I was ill. Like, I didn't know it. I probably will get a bit emotional because it's all still quite here,
okay.
but it was the start of getting sick, of getting ME. So I think I was just pushing so hard for safety, really, thinking about my family and everyone else's family.
It's a lot to take on. Did you bring that on yourself? Was it
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we take this thing on, don't we, that we have to look after everybody.
Yeah.
And make sure everyone's okay, and then we're not.
Yeah.
ourselves.
And I think I'd always been like the strong one and been happy to, like, I'd done struggles in the past, but you know, I was like, I'm a doer, I'm an achiever, I can do anything I put my mind to. And yeah.
And with
thank
this,
you.
though, it was with this. Gemma's just nearly tripped over going to get them somewhere. But it was. I think for a lot of people, it was it was a shock. And I think a lot of strong women, especially like business owners, entrepreneurs, if you've got that passion in you, you want everyone to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And the body, like you said, the adrenaline, the cortisol pumping around your body, that cannot last forever. That's just going to
No.
make you sick. And that's why the world's in a mess right now, because everybody's living on the nerves. Shouldn't generalise, should I? Not everybody.
Yeah, but I honestly...
90% I'd say
hang
of
on
the
a
planet
second.
are living on
We
stress.
have never, ever been in a situation in our lifetime where there is a collective, global,
Yeah.
at the same time, sense of hopelessness and grief. We grieved these last 16 months. We grieved for the lives that we had. You know, we grieved for
Yeah.
losing jobs. We grieved for people. We grieve for businesses that are like our children and our babies, you know, and it's been a very, very strange time. So actually, I do think you're right to generalise.
Yeah, because
you know?
I think most people that we spoke to, and especially in our line of work, is that they are mentally, you know, stressed, they're worn out, emotionally worn out because of what's going on and the uncertainty of things. And that's where obviously we can all help with that. But then you getting sick is because you're too busy looking after everybody else. But that's what women seem to do, and especially entrepreneurs and the business that you're in. You just want to look after people, but we have to look after yourself. We so have to look after ourselves first.
I mean, I have learned massive lessons.
And this is good. You've learned from it. So talk us through what was the point when you realised it was just enough is enough? Did your body just shut down?
Your body just literally, I think it was, so we went into lockdown in March, didn't we? And then in June, I got like a virus. And I was, for months, probably for a year, I'd been getting like, every month I'd have a sore throat, I'd have ulcers in my mouth. Like, I'm not talking like normal, they were like massive. I could barely speak without wincing. So that was signs already. My body was like, you know, I went back to work when Grace was 11 weeks old. So my body was just like done in basically. So I'd been pushing for a long time, and then lockdown on top of that. It was like the June, my body was just like, I got what I thought was tonsillitis, but it just never went. Like, it was just like ongoing symptoms, and they were trying to rule things out, sending me for all these tests, but it turned out it was chronic fatigue syndrome.
What, can you explain that for somebody who's listening who might not know what that is?
Yeah, so it's quite a tough one to explain because it is really complex, but I feel like I'm like an expert in it now, so I'll try and break it down. So like, it can be called ME or CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, and it's basically like your body's just been in fight or flight for too long. Like, basically you're in your autonomic nervous system all the time. And, you know, we need that balance of sympathetic, where we're like slow and calm and
Like Claire
rested.
started off, you know, to get us into
Exactly.
There's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, and you've been living in the one
sympathetic, the
looking out for danger and getting everything
Yeah.
sorted. But it's just, you need to go in your rest and digest. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's basically, but it can be caused by different things. For some people, it can literally be a virus and it triggers it. It could be in your genes. But for a lot of people, and as I've met on the journey, it's like mainly women between mid-20s, mid-40s. A lot of mums as well. A lot of high-achieving women, a lot of strivers, a lot of very active people. And it's like your body just goes enough because you've just pushed it and ignored the signs.
What are the signs?
I think everyone's are different, like when you're getting it. Everybody's body shows them differently, but the symptoms of once you've got it can range from mine was sore throat, swollen glands, ulcers, brain fog, which has been a huge one, ranging to being wheelchair bound, bed bound. It can go to the extreme.
So when you get this diagnosis, I'm presuming you do what all of us do, and you go and turn to Dr. Google, and you see things like that, you know, wheelchair bound, bed bound. Does that make you at that point go, I need to get a handle on this, I need to sort it out?
Well, for me, I didn't get the diagnosis until March this year, so it started in June.
Right, okay.
And Jamie's friend came round probably the end of June, and he was like, "You've had this for 4 weeks, like, you know, it could be like ME or something," because he'd had a bit of struggle himself. And from then I was like, this is strange. It's like, then it was 8 weeks down the line. I was still just so exhausted. Like, I couldn't even dress my own kids. And I was like, I thought it was stress, but I was like, this is not going. So then I started like looking at ways, because I knew there wasn't like anything you could do. I'd done the Google, I'd done doctors. Like, it just like, oh, you just have to adjust your activity. And I was like, well, no, I'm not taking that as an answer. Like, I will get better.
And that's my job, you know, to be active and to do all these online classes and be there for everybody else.
But at that point, I'd for the first time in my life, I'd said, I'm having time off and I'm not available. I'm turning my work phone off. I'm coming off social media. That was in July. So we were still in the lockdown then, I think.
Yes, you were, yeah.
And the universe well and truly stepped in, because I tried to go back at the beginning of August, and it was the first class in person. I thought, right, I'm ready for this now. It's not online. I'm not as under pressure to perform. Just go see the ladies, do a demo, let them do the work. And as I was walking to my van, my little speaker, a fly flew into my ear, and I literally ended up in hospital with a frigging fly stuck in me.
Universe, woo, you're not going to work.
And I woke up.
Was that the universe going, are you not listening?
Oh, absolutely it was, because I woke up the next morning, and because I'd been like on edge for 4 hours, literally like this, because the fly was flapping
With your
like
finger
crazy.
in your ear.
And I was in A&E waiting. I woke up the next day with the symptoms, like my glands were so swollen, my throat was sore, I couldn't get out of bed. And I was like, I am not well, like this is not normal. Like, and I rang Nikki, and I was like, she was like, you need to take time off.
Your second in command.
Yeah, Nikki was like the next down from me. So I took that month off, and I found something called the Lightening Process. Basically, it's NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Oh, we've got a master NLP practitioner here. Claire Morton.
That's what I'm studying at the minute.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
And,
Where are you doing it? Who are you doing it
it's with the Click Academy.
Okay.
It's a coaching certification and NLP.
Fabulous. Oh, yeah, we'll have a
Love
little chat
it.
about that. Love it.
So I did that. It was an intense course, and apparently it's like
You just loves everything intense, doesn't she?
Well, that's it. I was like, I'm not giving me time. I'm like, I can't be ill. Like, I need to get better. What can I do?
I'll do something intense.
So if like the doctors can't help, I'll go and find the answers. So find this lightning process, and it was 3 days intense of working on your mind. And
that's good.
and how that influences the nervous system. And I started to feel a lot better. But by that point, we realised like the business just wasn't, it was so uncertain. We were in lockdown, we were out of lockdown, and I still wasn't feeling 100%. Like, I just knew something was telling me like I can't go back to that way anymore. And we decided to close it.
How was that? How did that feel?
Oh, honestly, it's just been awful. Like, the grief. It's been tough, but I needed to do it. Yeah.
How did Jamie feel about you closing the business?
To be honest, he was the one who sat me down and was like, let's look at this without emotion. He was like, you've not failed, let's look at this. Like, take your hat off of emotions and just look at it, at figures. And he was like, it's going to take a lot of work to build it back up to where it needs to be, supporting the team and us. And he was like, I just don't know if it's doable. Because we were paying
Plus
a lot
the emotions and the time and energy when you're not well, and logically.
Yeah. We're spending a lot of money on marketing. It was like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
But then that model completely changed with being online. And I was like, I don't know if we felt like we were on this hamster wheel for a long time.
You'd also moved house as well. You'd invested in a new property that you were going to renovate, and a lot of pressure.
Kids. Yeah. 2 little ones.
Yeah. It was just a lot at once. But yeah, we made the decision. And in my head, I was like, well, I'm kind of okay. I'm not where I was in June. I'm a bit better. I'm going to do a coaching certification, and I'm going to do something a bit calmer but still helping people. And that was the plan. But it's not been linear. It's not been as simple as that since then. I didn't take into account the grief I'd feel for closing the business. and also like the health, like it wasn't like I went better. It's been a...
Do you think there was an element of grief for your health? Because your identity for the majority of your life had been wrapped up in dance or fitness. That's who you were.
Dancing,
Absolutely.
You know,
moving.
your maiden name was Heaton. It was called Heatone. You know, tone your body, and it was your name. You know, it's your maiden name. It's your name's on the tin. Your identity's wrapped up in it, and then all of a sudden, you can't do what you've always done. That must be really hard.
Yeah, I think that has probably, alongside losing the actual business, has been the biggest thing. It's the health, because I thought I was still Wonder Woman, and I've learned over... I tried to carry on a little bit of the business, just a very small part, and even that I couldn't do because my body just wouldn't let me. Yeah. I ran an online program in January, which wasn't even doing anything physical, but the mental exertion crashed, and I was just like, I'm not willing to put myself through this anymore. I'm not willing to risk my health for a career or a job, but there was a lot of grief wrapped up in that. Yeah.
So what does life look like now?
So yeah, it's like role reversal. Jamie's super active now, and I'm like the one like not doing anything active. But basically, Jamie started a new business, completely different to anything related to fitness, and I'm basically focusing on recovery and working with a very small group of clients on the mindset, on their well-being, not on the health and fitness. So it's very balanced, but I'm still very much working on myself.
What does recovery look like? When you say you're focusing on recovery, what does that look like? What are you doing?
So day to day, it's yoga. I've just discovered yoga because for a long time I could not slow down that much. Meditation. Got the perfect lady here for that. I have to plan my days really methodically so that if I do something that's going to exert me mentally or physically, I plan in like a 30-minute meditation or rest. Early nights, breath work, therapy, coaching for myself. Like I have my own coaching, so it's very... Then kids, obviously, alongside that. It's very much slower pace, but it's very planned. It's very precise because it has to be for recovery. Even though they say like you need to let stuff go in order to recover, you have to be really organised with everything you commit to.
Yeah, and commit to it.
What's therapy been like?
What therapy is it?
I've been having counselling and coaching. I've always had a coach, so coaching's the norm for me. Like regardless of whatever I'm going through, coaching is always there. But therapy for me started actually last April. So I've been in it for about 15, 16 months now. For me, when lockdown, this is quite personal, but when lockdown hit, all this stuff came up for me, like emotions from the past, from childhood that had been buried. And I now know that it was because I'd been so on the go that I was running from these emotions, but it all just came up because it was like, right, you've got to pause. You can't hide anymore. So yeah, I've been working through a lot of...
So let me get this right.
Shit.
Let me get this right.
Shit.
You also start therapy then, which I always liken, it's like opening Pandoras Box, and it takes so much energy to analyse everything in that box, and sometimes you just want to shut it. I am not surprised with everything that's happened that your body is then shut down, because you're not just physically exerting yourself, you're mentally, emotionally and spiritually exerting yourself in dealing with the stuff that's coming up from therapy. It's exhausting for people.
It is, yeah.
And that's why a lot of people who are busy, who are always doing things, are distracting themselves from dealing with stuff. And it's like, but it's fine. And then it's like, it's not fine, because it'll come up when it needs to come up. It's just like putting the lid on it, and the lid's just going to explode. And then knowing that when it does come up, it's okay. Because people that's it. We're just doing too much.
Well, I am, you know me. I came to this conclusion that I'm addicted to stress. I think I sent you, Ellen, a picture of the book, didn't I? Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, because me and Claire were doing that on one of our previous podcast episodes. And
I was talking about that today with one of my clients, and he said, he said, I agree with that. He said, that's what he did. He's really doing really well now. We said that, you do get addicted to the...
Because you don't know anything else.
Well, that's it, yeah. And I probably ran on that for years and years.
Well, this is why I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm asking it selfishly on a personal note, because I'm listening to you and a part of me is a little bit terrified because I've never worked at this pace like I have right now. I was saying to you in the car on the way here, wasn't I, Claire? But I feel mentally, I keep reminding myself, nope, you can do this, you're mentally strong, but it gets to a point where when you crack, it's too late and the signs have already been there. The signs are already there for me at the moment. So I've noticed that the middle of my cycle during ovulation, my fatigue is now getting to the point where it is affecting my day-to-day life. So I'm listening to you and going, thanks, universe, for bringing Ellen
here for a reason
today.
Listen
because
to your body.
You have to. And stress is so dangerous for people. What advice would you have for people who are busy, high achievers, always on the go, putting themselves last, being there for everybody else?
This is exactly the women I work with now. And I think from a personal point of view, I'd just say, looking at my story, it is not worth it. Nothing is worth pushing yourself to that limit. It's nothing, no money, no status, no validation. It's just not worth it. Yeah. But I know that's easy for me to say when you're in it. I'd just say, slow down, check in with yourself.
It's so hard though, isn't it? It's so hard to slow down.
It really is. But even if it's just the simplest things, some of my ladies, they literally just have an alarm on the phone, which I'm sure you do anyway, and just literally asking how do I feel? What do I need today? And honouring it. Even if it means cancelling something or saying no to a friend, or even if it's to family, it's you have to come first because nothing else works without you. It really doesn't. And I can't say that enough. I've heard that so many times in the past and I was yeah. But when it actually your body gives up, it's why didn't I listen? And just also progress over perfection. A lot of people who are so busy, they're perfectionists, they want things just that way because they're the high achievers and they love that being busy. But if you're just making progress in something, then it's better than being all lined up all the time and perfect.
And then crashing. And then being able to do nothing and having no progress.
And actually stopping for a moment to look at what you've achieved.
Recognising it.
And celebrate that. Rather than just, what's the next thing? Oh, now I've done that. Next thing. It's why are you doing this? Because I've done it myself. Why am I feeling so knackered and why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? And then you have to check in with your why, don't you, as well? And it's the self-awareness piece is key first. So once you're aware, that's when you can go, right, I can stop this or I can cancel that. But there's so many people who are not aware. And that's when they crash and burn. And that's when it's
That's why I think your story is quite inspirational because, you were having therapy last April. You are already identifying things. You've got a coach. You're putting things in place. And a lot of people don't know where to start. They're not that self-aware. They don't realise that. Have there been any other lessons for you over this time period?
I think for me it's realising that you're worthy without anything, other people's validation. I was a classic people pleaser. So now I know I'm enough. I don't need a job to say that. I don't need other people, followers on Facebook, people around me telling me how amazing I am.
Because you've had a lot of followers on Facebook.
Yeah, and I think there was part of that, when you've got so many connections and people telling you how great your program is and what you're doing for them, changing their lives, it's I can't lose this.
Is it maybe, but thinking back to that time, is it a sense of embarrassment, this can't fail because I've built this profile? Because, you were so are so well known around Merseyside and the Northwest for what you've done, you know, changing the lives of women. Hundreds and hundreds, thousands of women have been through your programme and have amazing things to say about it. And you should be very proud of that. Extremely proud of that. You should.
Yeah. I think I'm at a point where I am now.
Yeah, and you're doing the same thing, just with a smaller number, but you're still helping, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then you don't know where that might take you later on.
Well,
so
I mean,
you're still living with you want to save. It's
Yeah.
just on your
terms.
in
your
a healthier way for me.
Yes.
And I think for years I've known like this is the route I'm going to go. Like I've always loved health and fitness, like and moving the body, but for me it was always more about the mental side and helping women feel good enough. It wasn't about being a certain size or anything. It was just helping women to feel good. So I've always known like.
Do you think you knew when you went to uni to do psychology?
Must have done. It's all coming full circle.
Full circle,
now.
full arc.
Yeah.
Well, to finish this on a high note and a positive note, what are you proud of? I want you to big yourself up and I don't want you to be shy because I think it's really important. What are you proud of?
Well, first and foremost, I'm proud of my family. Like, that's my biggest achievement. I'm bloody proud of myself for getting through this year.
Ellen.
Like, I feel like I've like literally been broken down, but I'm now building Ellen version 2.0. Like,
yeah, she's bossy.
She's got strong boundaries.
Yeah.
She likes herself a lot. She loves herself.
Yes.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
But she's worthy. And yeah.
I love you.
Oh, I love you too, Jem.
I really do. You're just like, you just make me feel amazing. You really do.
Oh,
And
I hope that wasn't too vulnerable, though.
No, for the first time I've met you, I love you too.
Oh,
Thanks
you
for being
too,
so
Claire.
open.
Ellen,
I love you too, Jacob.
producer Jacob. Loads of love in the room tonight.
We're going to have a love fest.
We are.
Gemma, don't get any ideas.
Oh, damn. Gutted. And that nicely rounds up this beautiful, wonderful episode of Honest to God. Ellen Murray, thank you so much for joining us and telling your story.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.